It came out within the week that the story broke, and we were kind of like mocking the media's treatment of Monica Lewinsky,
Right.
who I knew from a very innocent date.
Jake Tapper is no stranger to the spotlight, but a shocking revelation about his past might just leave you speechless. In an exclusive interview, the renowned journalist opens up about something few saw coming: his brief romance with Monica Lewinsky. What really happened behind closed doors? Tapper's candid story uncovers an unexpected chapter in both of their lives, offering a fresh perspective on a relationship that's captivated the world for years. How Jake Tapper and Monica Lewinsky met. Janet Lewinsky and Jake Tapper met at a Washington, D.C. going-away party for a friend in 1997. When this happened, Monica was already in the middle of the crisis involving President Bill Clinton that would later make the news. Even so, they were able to connect right away and swapped phone numbers. Soon after, they made plans to go on a date. The restaurant Tapper and Lewinsky picked for their date was a casual Tex-Mex place in Washington, D.C. It wasn't a fancy or well-known night. It was just a normal dinner, a long way from the political chaos going on around them. Later, Tapper said that Monica was very different from most of the women he met in D.C. She didn't stick to veggies. Instead, she ate a full meal, which showed she didn't care about social norms. Monica even asked for a few beers, but Tapper only ordered bourbon. Their easygoing choices showed a rare moment of calm in a time when things were otherwise crazy for both of them. It's interesting that they didn't talk about the Clinton issue at all during their date. Later, Tapper said that they never brought up President Clinton's name, even though that would have been the first thing most people would have thought of. Instead, they talked about more personal things and shared stories about relationships from the past. Tapper remembered that the talk between them felt new and real. Even though that's how the media portrayed Lewinsky at the time, he thought she was honest and not trying too hard. After their date, Tapper wrote a story for the Washington City paper in which he called Monica sweet and real, which was different from what most people thought of her. The way the media talked about Lewinsky was very different from how he did. They saw her as scandalous instead of as someone going through a very private and public struggle. It was important for Tapper to write about the date in such a good way, especially since the Clinton scandal was going on at the same time. Both Lewinsky and Tapper needed a break from the attention of the public, and the meeting gave them both that. Monica got some relief from the effects of the Clinton affair by having a simple meal and talking about something other than the scandal. At the time, Tapper was a reporter who was just starting to become known. Even though it was just a normal date, they had no idea that it would become part of a much bigger story that would follow them both for years. Jake Tapper's article in the Washington City paper. After Jake Tapper's date with Monica Lewinsky in 1997, he decided to write about it for the Washington City paper. This wasn't just any regular article, it was one that would shape how people saw Lewinsky at a time when she was being treated very unfairly by the media. Tapper, who was a relatively unknown journalist at the time, wrote about the date in a way that was kind and humanizing, painting Monica in a very different light from how she was often portrayed. In his article, Tapper described Monica as sweet and authentic. He shared how their conversation had been easy and natural, mentioning how they had both avoided talking about the scandal involving President Clinton. He focused on who Monica was as a person, rather than the media's focus on her being part of a scandal. Tapper made sure to tell his readers that Monica was just like anyone else, with hopes, dreams, and a life that wasn't defined by the scandal. This was a bold move, considering that the media was often treating her as a villain at the time. When the article came out, it had a pretty big impact. Tapper's decision to write about Monica in a positive way gave her a bit of a break from the negative media attention she had been getting. People who read his piece were introduced to a more personal side of Monica, and Tapper's portrayal helped remind everyone that she was more than just the scandal that was dominating the headlines. The article wasn't just about their date. It was about offering a more balanced perspective on someone who had been unfairly vilified. The public reaction to Tapper's article was mixed. Some people appreciated the way he treated Monica with respect and empathy, recognizing that he was helping to show a different side of her. Others, though, were not so sure. In a world where the media was feeding the public a very different image of Monica, Tapper's piece felt like a breath of fresh air. However, given the climate of the time, it was also risky. Many people still thought of Monica as nothing more than the person who had been involved in a scandal with the president, and Tapper's positive portrayal challenged that perception. Looking back, Tapper's article was important in shaping public opinion. It helped start a shift in how people saw Monica Lewinsky, not as a scandal, but as a human being with her own story. By writing this article, Tapper didn't just show the world how his date with Monica went, but he also made people think twice about how they judged her and others in the public eye. His decision to write with empathy and respect helped start a conversation about the ways the media can dehumanize people in the public spotlight, and how we should always remember to look beyond the headlines and into the real lives of those involved. In a time when Monica was being relentlessly vilified, Tapper's article provided a brief but powerful example of how one individual's actions could challenge a narrative. It became a key moment not only in the relationship between Tapper and Lewinsky, but also in the larger conversation about public judgment and the responsibility of the media to present people as more than just their scandals. Monica Lewinsky's life after the scandal. Monique Lewinsky's life was never the same after the incident involving President Bill Clinton. In the past, she worked as an intern in the White House. Now she is one of the most popular and criticized people in the world. The constant negative attention from the media was too much for her to handle, and she fought for many years with it. Monica had a hard time in the years after the scandal. She was made fun of by the media, and most people only saw her as a part of the political incident. It was hard for her to deal with all this attention all the time. She thought that everyone would judge her if she lived her life like that. She felt trapped because people would talk about her in public and they would say mean things. Because of how people treated her after the news, Monica said her life was a public humiliation, and it hurt her a lot. At one point, she even thought about leaving the country to get away from the media's close attention. She had problems with her mental health, including anxiety, sadness, and a sense of being alone. The cyberbullying was especially bad. As the web grew, people found new ways to hurt her. She wasn't just being judged by the media. Mean comments and memes on the internet were also calling her names. The mean things people said about her online hit close to home and made the pain she was already feeling even worse. Monica didn't hide the fact that this close attention was making her feel bad. She said later that she didn't want to get out of bed some days. Her past and the way people kept criticizing her made her feel trapped. The negative picture that was drawn of her followed her around, and it was hard for her to get away from it. When she went out in public, people would whisper or even say mean things about her. She just couldn't seem to get a break. Monica found ways to get better over time. It took her some time to figure out who she was past what the media said about her. She understood that the views of other people could not define her. Monica started to care about her own health and growth. When she went to therapy, she dealt with her shame and guilt. She slowly started to put her life back together and feel in charge again. When she started talking about her experiences in public, it was one of the most important steps in her journey. She became a strong voice for other people who were going through the same kind of bullying and public shame. As a public figure, she talked about her problems and how hard it was for her to grow. Monica also spent time on her job and looked for new ways to live her life without being in the news all the time. She worked hard at school and went to graduate school because she was determined to move on and do good things with her skills. She worked in many fields, from fashion to charity work, always trying to find something important that had nothing to do with her past. When Monica became an activist for mental health and the fight against cyberbullying, her life changed all the way around. Before the subject got as much attention as it does now, she was one of the first people to talk freely about how the internet could be used to hurt other people. People who felt like they could say hurtful things behind a screen without getting in trouble spoke out about how dangerous and painful online bullying could be. Monica has said that social media and other online sites were a new kind of bullying that made things worse for her. It wasn't just the news or TV that were mean to her. Now mean things were being said about her on the internet. Because the bullies were often unknown, this type of bullying was hard to avoid. When the internet got bigger, so did the hate that people had for her. It was called The Price of Shame, and Monica told her own story in it in 2014. She talked about how being made fun of in public had changed her life and how it felt to be treated so badly by the public and the media. She asked people to be more understanding and kind online and to remember that there are real people behind the news stories and tweets. That was the kind of pain she didn't want anyone else to feel. A lot of people were moved by her TED Talk, which helped them understand how harmful shame and cyberbullying can be. Monica used her voice to show how shame and public humiliation can hurt people, especially now that we live in a social media world. She talked about how simple it is for people to forget that the people they insult online are real people with feelings. Monica also worked on taking back her own story over time. She chose to be in charge of her own story instead of letting the public define who she was. Monica felt better about talking about what she had been through and what she had learned. It changed the talk about her because she did this. People began to see her as more than just a scandal. They saw a woman who had been through a lot and come out better. Aside from that, Monica worked for organizations that provide assistance to individuals who have been bullied or shamed in public or who have been targeted online. Because of her work, many individuals have been motivated to come out, get assistance, and fight against abuse. She is now a model for those individuals who may have feelings of isolation or embarrassment from their troubles. She demonstrates that it is possible to recover and enhance one's power, even after one has achieved fame. Additionally, Monica has started to advocate for children who are being harassed or insulted on the internet. She is of the opinion that we ought to begin to learn to care about other people at a young age and act with greater caution when it comes to how we treat people, particularly renowned individuals. A significant portion of her work continues to concentrate on fostering empathy and kindness, and she has exerted a great deal of effort to alter the way in which we think about public people, cyberbullying, and the consequences of publicly humiliating another person. Tapper and Lewinsky reconnect in 2021. In 2021, Jake Tapper and Monica Lewinsky got back in touch in a unique way. This time, their talk was shaped by thinking about the past and the dramatic portrayal of their shared history. The reunion was mostly about the premiere of Impeachment, American Crime Story, a TV show that dramatized what happened during the Clinton-Lewinsky affair. When the show brought up their famous date from 1997, Tapper and Lewinsky talked about how they felt about their past being brought up again in public. Lewinsky had been in the public eye for a long time, and she was often looked at negatively and critically. That changed in 2021, when she spoke out for mental health and against trolling with more confidence. The show gave her a chance to talk about her own life and how the media's portrayal of it had shaped a lot of who she is. Tapper, who was also a young writer at the time, could now understand things better because he had thought about how much he had learned about how complicated the situation was. When they talked, Tapper seemed to say that he felt bad about how things had turned out. He agreed that the way the media covered the case had affected public opinion and that Lewinsky had been treated badly. It wasn't just the incident, it was also how the media kept up with every detail of her life, even when they didn't care about her as a person. She and Tapper both agreed that the whole thing had been too much for her to handle at such a young age, and that the press's treatment of her was partly to blame. Monique, on the other hand, had changed a lot. The get-together wasn't about the past, it was about her present and future. Their conversation showed that she had grown since the terrible event. Tapper seemed truly interested in learning about her journey, and Lewinsky liked how the years had changed her point of view. As we talked, we also thought about how things might have been different if the events had happened in a media environment without as much social media and instant comments. A dramatic recreation of Jake Tapper and Monica Lewinsky's date in 1997 is shown on Impeachment: American Crime Story. The date is shown through the lens of the show's version of their relationship. The show's version of the date isn't based on facts, but it tries to capture the emotional atmosphere of that night, so viewers can imagine how things might have gone between the two of them. The show's scene brings to life the nervous energy of a first date and shows Lewinsky as a young woman trying to find her way in a world of scandal, fame, and personal confusion. The show is mostly about her point of view and shows how she feels seen and confused in a world that is watching her every move. Tapper is shown as a kind but uncertain person who is trying to make a real connection with Lewinsky, even though her public life is tense. When Tapper and Lewinsky talk on the show, they talk about both personal and professional things. The show doesn't claim to show their exact words, but it does give you a sense of how awkward and stressful it is to have a normal chat when everyone is watching. Monica was just starting to become famous, and she must have felt the weight of her growing fame. The show tries to show how hard it is to balance a personal bond with the fear of becoming part of a bigger story. The show shows their date in a way that isn't just about the talk, but also about how they were figuring out life together. At that time, Tapper and Lewinsky's relationship wasn't just a date between two people. It was a still point in history where the Clinton scandal's future loomed big. This part of impeachment is used to show how hard it is to deal with your feelings when you're involved in a scandal like this, and how the media storm affected even small private moments. When Tapper and Lewinsky talked about how their date was portrayed, both of them agreed that the show tried to capture the essence of their conversation without being too detailed or sensational. It looked like they all agreed that the most important thing about the scene was how it made them feel. Two people trying to connect in the middle of a tough situation. When everything around you is changing, it can be hard to keep your emotions in check. This show doesn't shy away from showing that. Jake Tapper opens up about his past relationship with Monica Lewinsky, offering new insights and reflections. If you found this story intriguing, don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates on the latest headlines and personal revelations.